good is it to see the Eels back in the winner's circle, eh? Took a while, but it doesn't really matter because it's Origin season, baby. Round 12 is finally upon us, and there's a lot going on. Loads of buys, loads of players out. Unexpected Origin picks, as always, but a stack of injuries that have really made this week's team list quite a bit chaotic. There's going to be some guys that are going to go through that this week with Jamie and some others on the channel. I'm just going to quickly go over the main points, but I want to talk strategy this week. This begins the period where we only get 13 of our players, our starting 13 for 6 out of the next 8 weeks. So it really, really matters who you bring into your team and why they're there. So team lists, the Dogs lost everybody. They lost Critter, Kiraz, Man, Salute Fafita to Head Knock, and King went to Origin as well. Curran's back, but that makes them a bit soft looking. People Hopboy got 45 minutes last week. Scored only 30, but I don't mind him as one of the better potential cash outs. Burton's existing as well. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near like a Katoa or a Fogarty or anything like that, but he's very, very cheap now. Have a think about it against a Dolphins that are missing a few players themselves, with Gilbert injured and Hammer in Origin as well. But the big talking point is that there is no Gerbo in the Seagulls-Eels match, and the Tavanga holders can rejoice. You've earned that. Well done. Play in that hooker this week. That's gonna be some just desserts for all the people ragging on you the last few weeks. Now, no Moses obviously means Caltoga's. The stats reckon that his average is about the same with and without Moses, so hopefully that comes through this week, but we'll see. Understrength Panthers and Knights, so each of them are missing so many players. We've got guys like Liam Henry at edge and a bunch of players on the bench that I don't even recognise. Is this the time for Liam Henry and Lindsay Smith to shine when they get big minutes in this week and round 16 especially? And if others are rested or back up with low minutes, I really don't mind them, especially the cheaper Liam Henry one. Fletcher Sharp goes to fullback. I'm interested to see how he goes there. I'd say he'll probably rack up some nice attack because he's a bit of a ball hog and getting a lot of tries this year anyway. We'll see how that goes. Lucas is back on the edge after Kant's probably subpar performance, and Kant himself is on the bench. Roosters middle's also shot to bits as well. There's no White. There's no Watson. There's no Toya. There's no Lindsay Collins. And there's no Spencer Leniu. So there's pretty much a reserve grade middle running out apart from maybe 2 or 3 guys in that butcher back this week. So watch out for that with that Sharks matchup. It could go big for guys like Hines and AFB and maybe even Iro and Utah, who knows. Nala's back to centre though with Toya going to Origin. And yeah, what does Radley's minutes look like with these outs of the Roosters? Interesting. But yeah, even though Stone Street's out very long term, Herodi's back earlier than we expected, so no cash out there with like a Michael Gabriel or something. Warriors, there's no Fish suspended. Barnett's in Origin. I think that just makes Clark close to the best captaincy option this week. Tarpanay is probably challenging for that title as well, but bigger risk of low minutes. But against this Warriors pack with a few missing, this could be a week that he goes like a 90 potentially. Anyway, Hosking with Hudson Young in Origin, I'd say he'll get 80 this week, and Sasangi won't. At Edge, would you buy him though, playing 70 minutes like he did last week? It's not as appealing as 80. I'd still say he's an okay option, but if you need an edge, you can probably look to a couple of other options, but have a look at those later. I think the top buys for me this week would be Tarpanay, just because most of us need a mid at this point. There's no Max King, there's no White. Jacob Saifidi went down. It's not gone very well. So if you are in need of a mid, which is most of us, Tarpanay seems the biggest and best mid that you can bring in. If you still don't have Aaron Clark, sure, but he's almost better as a long-term gun hooker. But yeah, Tarpanay probably the best of the mids. I really like both of these centres. I've skipped over Teddy because of his difficult matchups. He's good. I've skipped over Katoa because he's quite expensive, but he's good, possibly the second best half this year. But Garrick plays all three major buys. Garrick's next month has games against the Eels this week, Newcastle, and the Titans. And we're missing like a Toy and a Kiraz. So that's a perfect time to get him in. If you don't really like Garrick, or you've got Garrick already, because about 50% of top teams own Garrick and about 50% of teams own Herbie, maybe you just get the one you don't have. Whichever one of Herbie and Garrick. Herbie's more expensive, probably scores a bit more than Garrick, though. His lowest score all year is 48 as a centre. A few years ago, that's unheard of. He keeps scoring tries. He's a huge part of their attack. He's getting kind of fullback runs pretty much. He's getting as many touches as one of the spine players. He's doing it a lot. So for those reasons, I'd say they're the biggest buyers and options this week. But there's just a lot. There's so many. You've got your Hoskins if you don't have him. You've got your Katoas, as I've mentioned. You've got your Tedescos. I'm bringing in probably one of Tarpanay and Fanua Blake. Tarpanay doesn't fit my team perfectly, so I might end up going AFB. He's also a really good buy, and I think possibly the highest brought in this week for most for the general teams. And his matchup, of course, this week is quite good as well. But with all that talk about who's in, who's out, who's good, who's bad, if you're missing a mid, should you go Tarpanay? Is Tarpanay a must because he's so good and so high as a ceiling player this week and as a captaincy option? I think if you are in need of a mid, you probably should get him unless there's a reason that you have that it doesn't work. For me, I already have Horsburgh and a lot of other Raiders. And it made me think, how many is too many? Because round 15 is pretty rough looking with those buys. Let's bring up the Raiders buys now, actually, do a little bit of a check on that. Where are they? Oh, there we go. So a bit of a preview of those if you managed to skip through that. Let's have a look at the Raiders. They're the last team to have a bye. They have quite a lot to finish the year, but they play some soft teams, which is nice. The Sharks miss round 18 but play round 15. If you end up with a bunch of Raiders players, hold a few Origin mids, and double up on like Tarpanay and Horsburgh, and maybe also have an Aaron Clark and a like even if you buy some of those guys like Liam Henry, Terrell May's not playing Origin and he's still going to be missing that. There's a lot of players that are not going to play round 15 in the mids. That is going to be the toughest one for round 15, I think. Round 19 also looks really rough with the teams that are there. So I personally love Tarpanay if you have some alternatives, like if you've got already like a you could even potentially play Jazz Devanga in the mids in round 15 if you buy a Titans guy or something and Gerbo does make Origin. But yeah, Tarpanay is a little hard to cover compared to some of these other guys. I love him and I think you should go for him if there's a chance that it works well for your team. For me, I'm going to grab AFB, I think, because the buys work out just a little bit better for me. Round 18 will be nice for Tarpanay, though. That's a big plus. But the Seagulls, Rabbitohs, and the Raiders in round 19 is very tough. If you've got Colomatungi, Aitken, Garrick, maybe even a budget Turbo, a bunch of Raiders, and you're trying to buy like Trell Mitchells, although probably not in that week. And you're going to miss so many important guys in that round. It's a little tough. I think that there's going to be a few struggles in there, especially in um, those outside backs areas and the forwards. So watch out for that one if you're buying Tarpanay. Otherwise, lock and load, get him in. But how many should you have? How many Raiders should you realistically have? Should you be buying more? For my personal team, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 already. Bringing Tarpanay in makes it pretty tough to cover in that round 19 unless I straight up sell Tamale early, or I decide that Horsburgh doesn't quite fit my final team or something along those lines. It's going to start to get really dicey if I have more than about the number that I do now. So, should you be looking to buy a Hosking this week if you don't have him, and you do have a horse and a Tarpanay and a Fogarty and a Tamale? Possibly. Only if you have planned well for that round 19 mostly and can cover some of those options. But yes, there's not many. Oh yeah, and Tommy Starling. A few people still have Starling. He's done really well. A lot of those guys are guys you kind of don't really want to upgrade unless they're a luxury one and you've held a few. So if you're pretty low, maybe locking in, let's say a fifth raider is just one too many. Okay. Now, I've thought of this myself a lot with Savala. I'm really scared of playing Savala this week against a Sharks team. But let's see, is somebody worth actually trading out to bring in the gun this week if you already have 13? It will definitely get you more points this round, but especially if you're running low on trades, if you're out by round 26, 27, that could be worth a 50 or even 100 points from that player you could have traded in when you've run out at the end. So for Savala, I'd say he's probably not someone you want to upgrade or like somebody you want to replace in your team by upgrading somebody else and benching Zavala. Sure, you can, but 20, 30 points is probably the max you'll get. However, when you've got guys like Jenkins in an exploded Panthers team with Casey McLean on his inside again versus Tedesco and Garrick and Farnworth and that type of stuff, I think that's probably worth it because they've just about finished making their money and they're not going to score well this week. Yongi without Moses in a team versus the Sea Eagles without too many misses, I think they're going to get belted. I think both Yongi and Jenkins might score 20s or maybe even lower. And I think that's a decent upgrade target. I'll be pretty happy if Savala scored a 40 this week, but I expect him to probably score at least over 30. Whereas for those two, I'm not confident in that at all. Those two you can probably go for, especially Jenkins. Zavala, I would leave. I would leave and keep it that way. But it depends on who you have, how many trades you have. So let's think about who's actually a good hold and who's a good sell, depending on how many trades you have and what your team structure is. Now, there were heaps of worries, even more worries earlier in the week with Lucas and Sharp and Raymond with an eye poke and all that. They're all fine now and good. Let's have a look at the definite sells. Dylan Egan, thank you, my man. Fantasy legend. I hope to see a lot more of you in the future. What a gun. Best wishes with your recovery. Jacob Safidi, 3 to 4 weeks. I just think he's a straight up sell. Yeah, what if he misses Origin 2 and you can play in that? No, just sell him. He might still play Origin 2, just sell him. Kiraz, at least a month, possibly a fair bit more. Sell, unfortunately. So some of these guys very likely own at least one of them, especially Egan, maybe two, and you can sell to those pretty much top price guys like your Tarpanays and your Garricks and all that. They're good to cash out now. Saifidi's a bit of an annoying one, but yeah, he's a sell as well. Nath White, I would sell him if you don't have too many injuries. Some people manage to dodge a little bit of it, and if you dodged a little bit of it, you can probably sell him and upgrade pretty easily because he's not a full keeper. He's going to average like probably high 40s. He's going to get some 50s and he's going to get some 30s. So his buy coverage is really good. But when he's aiming for round 15, and then, well, what if he doesn't? And what if he gets reduced minutes? It's just not a great hold. You want them to be a keeper. You're doing that sort of thing, like with Couchman, and you're hoping, well, there's no more injury stuff with that. You want them to at least be a chance of being a keeper or a gun. Whites don't really love it. I'm only holding this week because I don't need to make that many trades, and I have a fair few guys who definitely need trading out. I wouldn't trade Haas out this week, considering we've probably got other options, but even though he's a likely Origin hold, I don't hate it if you sell him with May missing Origin and being like a potential captain guy in the backup weeks and in round 19, round 18 likely, because it just seems that he's burned bridges. Sure, yeah, they might forgive him and chuck him back in the team later, but when you've got that long list of injuries and they still put other guys in, I think he's not getting in this year. I think Haas is a slightly easier sell. He's getting a little bit bashed up, maybe quad strain, back strain the week before. Alarm bells are starting to ring in my head just a tiny bit, like when we had Haas at 900k a few years ago and he dropped like 200k and we could pick him up later. I don't think he'll back up for humongous minutes after Origin, is what I'm reckoning. So if you need some cash to splash to get two big guns and you need like a Saifidi who isn't top price, if you need some cash, don't have too many injuries, don't hate selling. Probably hold though. Don't hate selling, but probably hold. Somebody who's a definite hold is Fermor, and that's because even though, yeah, there's plenty of good centres, he's one of them, and he only misses one extra one extra game that isn't a bye. And two of those three next weeks, he plays the last game on Sunday 6 p.m. game for round 16 and round 19. Very good for him, should be full game, no problems there. Munster, if you're one of the few that managed to hold Munster this entire way, like me, I'd probably hold until round 15. He's made 40k last week and he's all of a sudden scored a 60 and 270s in the last month. Crazy! I don't know where it's really come from. He's been very involved all year, but he's just, I think, taking over a little bit from Hughes, who's kicking quite a lot last game. I don't know if Hughes is fully right, so maybe Munster will fade off again if Hughes picks back up to full strength. But yeah, I'd hold Munster maybe another week or two, and in that round, maybe in the round 13, where you have a full squad, apart from those three minor buys, you can possibly even loop him and see if he's going to do any good or not. Cleary, if you still own him and didn't sell last week when there was 4 out of 6 missed, 3 out of 5 missed now is still really bad. But there's some juicy matchups if you hold for the next couple of weeks. So I would probably hold at this point, given the carnage and given you held through that first week. So still can sell, but probably hold. Yo, easier to sell than Cleary. Probably can hold if you really need to because of the carnage, but he's still a soft sell for me because he misses that many. Forwards do a lot more work and back and get a lot of niggles in that way. Sure, 80-minute guys like Cleary can as well, but forwards are much more easy to get significantly reduced minutes rather than just going off 15 from the end when the game's sewn up. Toya, I would say he's a sell, but also you can wait to see if he plays Origin 2 because his bye schedule is really, really nice. If he misses Origin 2 and stuff, because I think Murray Taulagi should be back by then and stuff like that. But if he does and he misses this week, round 14 and then round 15. He held for one game in the last month. That would be rough. I would lean to sell. I would see that. Max King, I'd, I'd probably sell. He's the kind of guy who kind of fits being a bench origin guy. Quite high effort, quite good. I don't think that he's necessarily better than Terrell May this year, but I think Terrell May should be in over guys like Utoika Manu and things like that in the first place. So, yeah, can sell, but yeah, I think it's probably better sell than not. And yeah, Ponga made Origin. Please just sell him. He's not really right, and the Knights are just exploded. Ponga couldn't do anything when the Knights weren't exploded. Just get him out. I think you just have to get him out. Anyway, that's probably the hold and sells with the origins and the injuries. The more buy hold sells will be by Jamie and everybody. Let's look at my team and what I'm planning on doing this week. So, as I said, I'm strategizing, probably not going to double up on too many Raiders. Did pretty well, apart from poor old Dylan Egan 0. Made about 1,000 ranks, which is really nice. This week, just the one, Neil Blake in, Clark captain. I'm not super happy about Kaltonga without Moses, but that's the way it's turned out. Narwan not on the wing so well, but I have 13. And although I don't know, lose a couple of ranks, I have 17 trades left. And I will be able to really rock through this period, make some big moves starting next week. So I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. So let's have a look at my Supercoach team to finish off. I had another good week. It was not looking so good until Terrell May captain saved the day. Yeah, up into the top 500. Looking a little bit shaky this week, though. I'm starting to really get down there on trades. We don't get an extra 8 like you do in fantasy. I'm probably just going to try and sit as much as I possibly can. Now, this week kind of wrecked me a bit as well. You had your Carrazes, you had your Toyas, you had this, you had that. So I've maxed out 3 trades again to get Egan, Carraz, and Haas out for Fanil Blake, Olukwatu, and Nwanga Nidawaze. I've preferred him over Iro, even though I've talked up Iro a lot on the Supercoach Hub pod. I think Nawa just minimises the amount of trades I have to do because he plays all 3 of those major buys. So yeah, VC Olukwatu to absolutely destroy the Eels this week. I could do Garrick as well, but I just don't mind the thought of Olukwatu not playing Origin, annoyed that he hasn't been selected, belting a weak Eels. And if that doesn't work, Teddy captain because he's Teddy. Versus the Sharks, but Teddy captain because he's Teddy. And yeah, that'll about do for this week, guys. Remember, buy Joseph Tarpanay if you don't have too many Raiders. And hopefully you don't have to make too many trades to get 13 this week. Hope you get, what do I reckon's a good score for this week? 700? 700 with 13 players? Let's say that. Let's say, hope you get a 700 plus, and I'll catch you next week.